Hey everybody. It looks like we're live. Hopefully we are. There's a little bit of a delay between my Facebook Live and what I'm saying right now. So anyway, hey, um, if you're joining live, welcome. I'm glad to see you. We'll be sure to put one in the comments or hello or something just so I know that you're here. And if you are watching on replay, that's cool too. I definitely want to welcome you no matter how you are um decide how you are joining us today, whether it's live, replay, both. Welcome to my live. I'm a little bit scattered. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, so uh sorry if I ramble, but I'm just really excited and happy to be here with you all today. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is, as you've seen on my Facebook page, if you've been following me, my profile, you've seen a couple of changes. And one of the big things that I've been talking about is that I am pushing back the release date of Open Secrets for it was supposed to come out in May. I'm going to have it come out June 7th. And I wanted to talk a lot, well, not a lot, but I wanted to talk about what's going on. Hey Tony, good to see you. And let everybody know why. And this is something that's really important to me because it goes beyond just having a high quality product, which of course is what I want. When I write stories, I want them to be the best they can be, and I really need that extra time. So let me go right into it. I asked a couple of days ago, um, how people thought what people thought was the reason that I'm pushing back the release date. And somebody, I think it was Autumn, said maybe Pride. And that's definitely part of it because as I was considering what I was going to do, I realized that Pride Month is in June. And I'm writing a very LGBTQ centered book. It's the first book that I've written that has not only a non binary protagonist, which is a big deal because I haven't written anything like that before. Even though I'm trans, I've never had a trans or non-binary protagonist before. Um, and I also have several bisexual and gay female characters, so that's really awesome. And I also have a lot of diverse characters, which April is Autism Awareness Month, but I'd rather go with June, which is where we're talking, which is where this fits, which is Pride Month. But that's not the whole reason. Hey Chelsea, that's not the whole reason. I wanted to get into the bigger reason, and it's going to be a little bit of a long story, but it's a really important one to me. And as an author, like I said, it's really important for me to have the best book possible, and that includes representing all my characters the right way. In addition to my LGBTQ characters, I have a black autistic child in this book, and I have a character who has schizoaffective disorder. And I wanted to make sure to represent all of these people properly. So basically, about 6 weeks ago, I decided to get a edit through Winning Writers because it was I knew I wanted some critical feedback before I published the book, and I had had a few beta readers, and I had some concerns about how some of these characters were being portrayed, especially Chloe, my schizoaffective character, because I don't know anyone with schizoaffective disorder. And as you know, for me, it's really important that mental health issues are depicted properly. I think all representation is important, really. I've seen a lot of writers on some of my writers groups who said, "What difference does it make? Just write what you want, and if people don't like it, too bad." And to an extent, that's an attitude that you have to have as a writer because you have to have that attitude. You have to be willing to take creative risks. You have to be willing to stand by your truth, and not everyone's gonna like your work, and it's not for everyone, right? That's one thing. But the other thing is that doesn't give you free license when it comes to representation of people who are not like you to represent them any way you want because that can be harmful. And if you follow my blogs on TV Fanatic, which I hope a lot of you are reading, the editorials and reviews and stuff I put out, I am always calling people out on mental health representation if it's not correct. Being autistic, I don't like it when autism is displayed incorrectly. I don't like it when mental health issues in general are portrayed as just uh it's a reason for people to be violent or in ways that are completely inaccurate, or mental health treatment is treated as a joke, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I was not doing that. And I definitely wanted to make sure that things were being portrayed properly. I also wanted to make sure, since it was a mystery that I'm writing, that it actually was a mystery. Um, and not something that was obvious or just, pretending to be a mystery, really trying to just make a social commentary or something like that. So I really wanted some professional feedback, and I did it through Winning Writers, partially because it was an affordable price and not thousands of dollars, and partially because it came along at the right time. And I figured, let me see what they have to say. Um, and that was where my journey began. I connected with a really great editor through there. I'm not allowed to repost verbatim what she said. That's supposed to be confidential, but I'll just talk in general terms. But she was really helpful, and she did have some concerns that matched some of the concerns that I had. Um, some of them were minor things. Some of them were things I hadn't even considered, like one of one of the suspects having a British accent. Then she said that in American literature, British accents are usually used to signify evil, which is not something I'd ever thought of, and I'd actually given this character an accent because it was based on a real teacher I had who sounded like that. But but anyway, so that was some of what she said related to the mystery, and some of what she said also was she had some concerns about some of the ways that I was representing neurodiverse people, which, at first really surprised me because I was being a neurodiverse person and being somebody who's a mental health advocate. That was not what I expected, but I also knew I wanted to keep an open mind and not reject something that was really important, and I wanted to make sure that I got this right. So, um, some of the revisions that I'm doing now are to make sure that anything that she identified that sounded problematic, that I agreed could be interpreted in a problematic way, is fixed. And so, that's helping me to reimagine things in a different way, and it's really, really important. I think um, this is going to be the kind of book that adds to diversity in literature, including mental health issues. And thank you, Tony and Chelsea. I'm glad to meet people who are as excited about mental health issues being portrayed properly as I am. Sometimes when my other life as a TV fanatic reviewer, I don't see that. I see the opposite, and it really annoys me. Um, so and some of the things that I'm working on also include, like I said, I have a character who is a black autistic child, and I wanted to make sure I got the intersection between race and autism right also, because obviously we're all different. I'm autistic. I'm also white and Jewish. I also was not diagnosed until I was in my 30s. So that's gonna be a different experience than an 11-year-old girl who is black and clearly autistic. Um and some of the things that I did that I'm working on changing were done with the best of intentions. Like, I wanted to show the idea that autistic people can be trusted and are the narrators of their own life and do know what they see, think, and feel, and all that. And so I had characters who were doubting what she was saying, and I did that because I wanted them to be proven wrong. But the way I was doing it was coming across as sending the opposite message of people with autism shouldn't be trusted because they have autism. So obviously, as an autistic person myself and as a human being, that's not something that I wanted to do. So that's one of the things that I'm working on fixing in this draft. And I realized that I probably could do it by May, if I rushed, but I didn't want to rush because it's really important to me to get this right. And I learned a lot so far. I've learned a lot about the way that various isms interact, and I also have been doing some research about some more research. I won't say that it's not like I didn't do any research. Obviously, I did read a couple of blogs and a couple of books about schizoaffective disorder before I started writing, but at that time, the stuff that I had read was more focused on these are what the symptoms are, and that was creating a stereotypical portrayal, which obviously is the opposite of what I want to do. And I have been very careful because I didn't want to make my schizoaffective character violent. I didn't want to make her the uh the person who ultimately did it and all those kinds of things. Um and it's really hard to talk about some of the stuff without spoiling the book, but I feel like this is so important that I want people to know, when you're writing characters who have mental health issues, one of the things that I've learned is obviously there's no substitute to talking to people with that issue. But if you can talk to those people, for whatever reason, the other really important thing is to read blogs written by people who have that issue. One of the mistakes that I think I made was reading a lot of like scientific articles and articles that explain what the symptoms are and stuff. And that um, it's something that as a social worker I know doesn't tell the whole story. Like that's just a list of symptoms that people can have, and everyone is different. So it's not the same as seeing it from the inside. That's like a clinical perspective, and that's not really how you want to write. And this was something that I really was worried about. And um, I think that writing diverse characters is something that's really hard to do because there are so many issues that you haven't thought of. There are issues like what I just said, where you're just like you think you have the best of intentions, you're trying to break stereotypes, you're trying to show this person a certain way, but it comes across as reinforcing those stereotypes, and that's important. And that's why it's also important to have other people's eyes on it and get a sense how do people feel about this, and not just a reader feedback is valuable, especially if the reader is a member of that group, but if the reader is not a member of that group, they might have the same biases, or they might have seen the same things on TV, and so they might not have been somebody who um was you know, they might not have been somebody who is aware of this stuff. So it's really good to get an editor or a sensitivity reader or something like that. So that's just some of what I've learned. So I'm working hard on that. I'm also at the same time working on refining some of the things on the plot because obviously, if it's a mystery, I don't want the mystery to be too obvious. Um, and the mystery I was afraid the mystery was obvious. The people who made it read didn't think it was a problem. The editor also agreed that it was too obvious, and so I'm working on that. And I've actually changed what the solution to the mystery is. So this is going to be an interesting draft. So, um, for those of you who are watching live, I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions or feedback. I know that everyone so far is excited about me being uh, an advocate for mental health and accurate mental health depictions. So I think that's really important. And I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, I just wanted to like check in and say, I can't wait until this book is published, but I want it to be published correctly. And I want it to be something that's really important. And in the coming months, I want to have some dialogues around what does that what does representation mean? How do you show mental health issues? What's good, what's bad, what's problematic, and all of those things. I'm thinking really hard about my next book and whether some of the things I'm putting in it are appropriate for that reason. Um, and I want to make sure of that this time, hopefully before I begin, so I don't have to do so much on the back end. Um, but I just wanted to share all of that. And Open Secrets will be coming out in June. It will be coming out as part of for Pride Month, and which I think everything works out perfectly. If you notice at the top, Zoom automatically did this, I think, or Facebook automatically did this, and it gives my newsletter sign up. I think that's something that's really important. If you want to follow me and you want to know when the book is coming out or how to support me as an author or what else I'm doing as an author, I have a brand new newsletter called the Enigma Express. The idea is that you're kind of getting on a train, kind of like the Murder on the Orient Express if you read Agatha Christie. And it'll be content based on my mystery writing because I'm mostly writing mysteries now. And um, And so you can sign up there. It is a double opt-in, so if you sign up, please do check your spam folder for the confirmation email. It should also go automatically to a page on your web browser saying, hey, you basically saying, hey, click here to confirm that you really, really want to be aboard the Enigma Express. I don't want you guys to think you signed up and then miss my emails and wonder why you never hear from me. So I think that's uh really important. And yeah, so definitely do that. It's at the top of the comments if you would like to do that. I did want to briefly mention some other things about Open Secrets. That there were some suggestions that I'm not going to go with, and I'm not going to go into detail about that. Like I said, the editor did a fantastic job, and I want to respect the confidentiality rules of the edit that I got, and not be too specific. But one of the questions that did come up is about whether I should keep the college setting because, as you know, a lot of young adult novels are set in high schools, and I have decided that that's something that I am going to do. So I thought it through, and there are a lot of reasons for that. One is that a big part of the plot is that CJ, in addition to being a non-binary character, is also from North Carolina and is going to school in New York in this fictional Long Island suburb called Cedarwood that I've made up, which is similar to where I live in real life. And um uh so yeah, so I think that uh having them be a transplant, I sometimes struggle with the pronouns too, even though I made up this character. Um Sometimes having them be a transplant works really well, and that doesn't work if I make it a high school unless they move there with their family, and then it'll be a whole different dynamic. And then I didn't really want to have to deal with in this particular book with kids dealing with their parents the same way I would in a high school book. I did a reinventing Hannah, and I think I did it well. And when I write high school stuff, I like doing that because I don't like the trope of teenagers who never speak to their parents or never do anything with their parents. I don't like that. So but in this case, it would just make the story extra complicated. And the only other way I could have got around that was to do a boarding school. But I think that would also create a different vibe. Number one, boarding schools tend to be associated with Harry Potter, which is not the kind of book that I'm writing. And then I also wanted to and I also think that it changes the vibe in terms of the economic background of the students. Like to go to a boarding school, you either have to have a scholarship or your parents have to be well off enough to be able to send you to some high price school where you live there. And if I'm gonna have kids on their own, it makes more sense for it to be college. So, and I also wanted to explore the dynamics and politics in college of what happens when there's a violent crime at a college campus, what pressures are on the administration, what happens when someone wants to uncover the truth. And I think uh, and it could be at the expense of the school's popularity. And I think that just works best in a college setting. So I did decide that I'm going to keep that setting. So I wanted to share that, and I definitely wanted to share. It's a mystery. It's got a romance angle. DJ is a non-binary student, as I shared, who loves and has feelings for their cis male best friend and isn't sure whether it could work because they don't know if their friend would want to be in a non-heterosexual relationship. So we've got that whole subplot going on and lots of other stuff and the whole um and it partially has a Dead Poet Society vibe, even though it's a mystery, because that's my favorite movie. So I've always loved those things with people in authority who are trying to interfere with actual education. And while they're not really interfering with education, they're interfering with the truth of what's going on that college campus. So um, I'm very excited for it. I can't wait to share it with you. Let me see what comments I'm getting. So thanks. I love the theme for the newsletter. Also really excited about it, excited to get started with it. Um, and Tony, thanks. This definitely will be worth the wait. It's good. I will be having pre-orders going up in January or February. I'm still gonna keep that, even though I'm going to be releasing at the beginning of June instead of the beginning of May. So as soon as I have that on Amazon, I'll also be looking for advanced review copy authors at that point who will be able to read the book and give me an honest review. And I'll get a free copy in order to do that. So those are things that'll be announced on the newsletter as well, and that's something that will be done uh soon. As in a couple of months, but I don't want to give an exact time frame because I want to, like I said, make sure I got the revisions done first. So thank you if you are watching live, if you're watching on replay. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Thanks you guys for coming. And like I said, I want to definitely have these. Oh, one more thing. I am going to post some reels on Instagram out of some of what I said here because I want to start those conversations about uh representation and the importance of writing properly and not just writing whatever you want without regard for how it affects groups of people. So if you're not connected with me on Instagram, it's author Jack O'Ree. I'm author Jack O'Ree everywhere but here because Facebook insists that author Jack O'Ree is in use whenever I try to change my username here, but I know it's not because it was in use on my business page and I changed it to author Jack O'Ree 2 specifically so I can change it on here. And it won't let me, so I am LGBT author Jack O'Ree here, which works fine, but it annoys me that it's not exactly the same as every place else because one username will be easier to remember than two. um, anyway, I just wanted to share that. Thank you guys for coming, and I will talk to you later. I hope everyone has a great afternoon.